Hello, everyone. We're going to get started in about 2 minutes. In the meantime, if you'd like in the chat, you can tell us where you're coming from. If you're on social media and you want to be part of this greater network of people, let us know how to follow you. And you're also welcome to start writing on slides 2, 3, and 4. If this is your first session with me, no worries. You don't need to jump ahead unless you're comfortable with it, and we'll get you accustomed real quickly. Wow, we have a lot of Virginia teachers here. Well, welcome everyone. It's 5 o'clock Eastern Time, so we're going to go ahead and get started. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen with you all. Welcome to Math Workshop. This is the Base 10 series. My name is Teresa Wills. I'm an assistant professor at a George Mason University in the Mathematics Education Leadership Department. I've been teaching online for 10 years now and have been sharing different strategies with teachers about how you can take the routines and practices you're already doing in the classroom and transition them online in a way that's collaborative, interactive, and gives students voice. And today I hope to share with you some strategies that I use from Math Workshop and experiences that I've had in various elementary classrooms and even middle school classrooms. So I invite you to come down to slide 2, 3, and 4 and share your successes and celebrations. If you don't have the link, I'm going to go ahead and pop it in the chat box now. And while I'm sharing it on my screen, if you want to interact, you'll have to do it there. And I think I'll start off with something rather unusual. I'm going to share off my success and celebration because I know we got a lot of people who've been to many sessions before. On slide 4, I am officially taking a week off since the beginning of this, since March 13th. I've done daily professional developments for teachers, reaching over 7,000 teachers in small, intimate group settings. So 176 sessions later, I'm going to take a week off and finalize my book that's coming out, hopefully soon. And the title of that is down on the bottom. And it's been a pleasure working with all of you through this crazy, crazy time. And then I'd like to hear from a couple of you all. Again, you're welcome to put it on slides 2, 3, and 4. And wow, who's raised $500 for the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society this summer? Tell us about it.
Oh yeah, hi, that's me. My name's Rachel, and a neighbor of mine has a foundation, my next door neighbor, and I was talking to her this summer, and I said I would love to help raise money. So yeah, so far I've raised $500, and I know people affected by leukemia and lymphoma myself, so I hope to raise some more. So I have my own webpage to raise money. Yeah.
That's wonderful. Feel free to put your link in there as well. I'd love to see.
Oh, thanks. I will.
Let's see, somebody said that this was their first week as a new math resource teacher at a new school. How's it going? You've got quite a group of supporters here right now who will continue to support you. Let us know who you are and where you're at.
Hi, I'm Jenny Maynor. I am in Fairfax at Greenbrier East Elementary. I'm a new math resource teacher coming from kindergarten. So I'm very, very excited. And it's such a new role and a new school and meeting all these new people online. It's been an adventure.
It really has been an adventure for everyone. And I think if there is ever a time to be, a new person in this position, it's right now because while it might seem stressful, there's so many just emerging opportunities that otherwise may not have been there. So I wish the best for your school year. Let's see, somebody said just got a job as a first-time teacher in FCPS. Congratulations. Who is it and how can we support you more?
Hi, that's me. My name is Jenna. Super excited. I just got a job at Old Creek Elementary in Fairfax. So super excited, super nervous. I'll be teaching first grade.
Oh, wonderful. Well, glad to have you on board. You'll find in this community we have quite a few really supportive teachers. And if you all feel like, sharing any social media or ways of connecting, I found that teachers make long-time connections from these. So hope that goes well for you all. All right. So that was successes and celebrations. I always start with that every single session, no matter what. It's very important to me that as educators, we don't feel alone. That is how we build community in the education world. And that's also how we build community with our students. Every single student gets to have a voice on successes and celebrations, not just the loudest student, not just the student who's always excited to share, but every single student can have something there. So we've got a very busy hour. I'm so excited. Slide 5 are the ideas behind Math Workshop, why you've probably come. This work comes out of Jennifer Lemp's work on Math Workshop. And I actually had the pleasure of working with Jennifer quite a few times to discuss Math Workshop and how to move it online. And she's an incredible resource, really focusing on, kids being the ones to do, say, think, move, and interact. Today, we're going to focus on the last area, the guided math and learning stations. If you are interested in the first one, the task and share, I highly recommend going to my website and looking under Mather Days. I have lots and lots of examples of those. But I think the reason why most of you are here is you want to know how to do stations online and specifically get some resources for it. So we're going to start off. We're going to today look at 8 activities. Slide 6 shows the 8 that we're going to be doing. They all have to deal with place value and addition using base 10 blocks, or this idea of numbers and seeing them through base 10 tools. There's a variety of things here, and we're going to go through all 8 in this 1 hour. That means that I'm not going to be giving you enough wait time to truly go through them like students. Instead, you'll kind of browse through them as teachers, learn the advantages of them, talk with your group about it, and then move on to the next one. But I highly encourage you to look through the resources a second time just on your own and digest it all and decide how you'd like to use it. Alrighty, I am going to project slide 7. This is called Find It. And there's a couple ways we could do Find It. One of them is moving the little pointer to something that's not correct. And another way is by moving the little game pieces down to it. But since we're a friendly group of teachers, I'll let you all figure out your own way. This comes from a version of Photo Hunt, where you had to look and find the difference between the one that was correct and the one that was wrong. Oh, I already see one. And so if you see something incorrect, if you see something wrong, go ahead and either move the pointer or one of those little game pieces down to it. And as you're doing that, I'm going to call on some people to kind of share with us. First of all, this first blue one, why does this one not belong? Why is this one incorrect? Feel free to share over the microphone if you put that game piece there.
Hi, this is Pat. It's a 9 and it's supposed to be a 6, but that could be tricky for some kids who flip the 9s and 6s. So that would be an interesting.
Absolutely. I've got a
You
rising
know,
second and
P's for
third
the,
grader, and they're always flipping those things. So we have discussions
yeah,
about what's your number.
yeah.
Wonderful. Down here we've got one that somebody put a marker on. If that was you, tell us why. And feel free to turn on
Hi,
your
my name's
mic.
Jamie,
Hi,
and the
Jamie.
numbers are transposed.
What does that mean?
That the 3 is first instead of the 4.
Oh, so we have the same digits here, but they're in flip-flopped position.
Yeah.
Oh, very cool. Um, and then what about this one? What's going on here? If that was you, tell us. And feel free to turn on your microphone if you put this chip down and tell us why you put it there.
Hi, Teresa. It's
Hello.
Raha. I might have some background noise, so I'm sorry. But I didn't put the chip down, but can I explain?
Absolutely.
I noticed that that chip is on top of 38, and before that number, we also have 38. If I look at that column, it represents 9, 19, 29, and then 38. So 38 does not belong because in that row, it's increasing by tens. So it should be 39 instead of 38.
Wonderful explanation and noticing the patterns. And I'll do one more question and then we'll chat like, teacher adults here. But what's the pattern that's going on in this column and why isn't this one correct? This is a big concept that kids struggle with.
So I put that down, but it's not correct because it goes up by 10 and 10 is way smaller than 90.
Oh, 10 is way smaller than 90. I might have students say at this point, if this is something you agree on, go ahead and put an emoji in the chat if that's the way you saw it. And if you saw a different way, to go ahead and raise your hand. And that way I can get some different ones because this one here usually brings up quite a bit of discussion. And then we also will hear from students that, you just add a 0 at the end, and we did add a 0. So we can get this great discussion going about 100 versus 10 and what it's like to add a 0. Alrighty, so this is Find It. My kiddos were on the couch the other day playing this game where they had to look at two different pictures and find the thing that was different. And I was like, well, if you're going to spend your Saturday afternoon doing that, how do I leverage it for math? So that's kind of where this came out of. And I look forward to seeing the way that educators kind of change it up and make it useful for them. All right, on slide 8, if you would like to join me there, these are the different ways that you can choose to look at all of these activities. I'm going to ask you throughout to kind of reflect. How were you collaborative? In this case, collaborative means that more brains was actually better than just your own. How did you interact? In other words, click, move, change. And how did you have a voice? Microphone, text box, adding to the slides, adding images. Those all have lots of voice. And so after each one, you'll see this slide. You don't need to write anything down. I just want you to take a minute and think, reflect as a teacher. Alrighty. On slide 9, I have the 8 activities. You'll notice we've already done the first one together. There will be 6 more that you do in small groups, and we will come back and do the last one together. That's why the bookends are blue. They're a whole group. 6 things are independent. That gives you only 5 minutes each. So please find a timer and give yourself 5 minutes so you have a chance to kind of check out all of them. You don't need to do them like students, but check out the directions for them and how you might do them as students and what you might think about them as teachers. This is your time, so use it as best you can. 5 minutes each will give you enough time for all of them. And I'm going to place you in breakout groups. Slide 9 is our landing page for all the breakout groups. So if you find out you're in group 6, you'll need to click on group 6. And we have lots of people in here who are used to collaborate and can let you know, like what group you should be in. And if you're not sure what group you're in, just raise your hand. I can come over, or we might have someone in here who's very fluent in collaborate. Alrighty, our breakout rooms are starting in 3, 2, 1, now.
Okay, let's
So it means
see.
to open that file? Yeah.
Yes.
But what activity does that mean? Does that mean we're going to a specific activity? I'm actually lost. Or no, we were supposed to look through all of them, right?
When you press on group 3, it opens another PowerPoint.
Hi there, group 3.
Oh,
How's it going? As long as you click the group 3 math workshop, I can see one person is in that, but you
oh,
should
I
all
see.
be in there.
Okay.
And that has your own personal small group set of slides. When someone in this room changes it, everybody in this room sees it, but nobody else does.
Okay. Where is that I find the link? Is it in the chat of the,
You press
or is
on
it on
group
the
three,
slide?
and
On
it'll have
slide
a link.
9.
Oh, slide 9. Okay.
Mhm.
All right. Sorry for my son playing piano in the background.
I'll go to 1 then.
Yep.
Right.
Any one of them. All right. So we're going to make
Sure.
a pool, but we're not going to fill in the links.
Okay, so I'll be 6. Or do we have 4 people?
We have 4 then. Oh, I'm sorry.
We got
I
another
did-
person?
I think we have 4.
Elsa,
Yes, I'm sorry.
thank you. See if that works. If it doesn't, we'll ask
Hi
Teresa.
there, group 8. I see that
Hello.
one person is in your group slides. Were you all able to see the link on slide 9?
Yes, and I'm going back to do that. Audrey was a little late coming into the whole group, so I just posted or shared your main slide deck with her so she could get to slide 9 to get to group 8.
Perfect.
Will that work?
Absolutely.
Okay.
And I'm
Audrey,
actually going
did
to
you
move
get it?
another person in here who just arrived because you guys are a smaller group.
Okay, so what I'm looking at right now, this is Audrey. What I'm looking at right now is roles.
Yes, that's correct.
It is?
Yep. You should see the 4 different roles. I'm going to share, well, actually, hello there, Alexander, and Audrey. You can both click on this link that I put in the chat box there, and you'll be able to get to the slides.
Okay, good. Thank you. I'm there.
All right,
Thank
and
you.
it'll start off with like timekeeper, secretary, communicator, and mayor. Sometimes I have my students do these, but you just need a timekeeper, really.
Yes. Thank you. Okay, so then we need to move on to the first game or task.
Yeah, so that would be, you guess the rule. Each person gets a little slide with base 10 blocks to make an addition statement, but don't fill in the blanks. And once we're done, we take turns filling in each other person's blanks. So I did mine on slide 4.
Okay, I'll take 5.
And then you can drag your little base 10 blocks over. Gosh, that's so much easier than building your own.
I thought I was in the right place, but I did slide 5 and I don't see any other ones being done. So I'm not quite sure where I am.
Elsa, let me ask you, the title of your slideshow, does it start with a number 8?
Yeah, it says 8 Math Workshop.
Okay.
Mine says 9 Math Workshop.
All right, I'm going to go ahead and link it again so you all are in the same one.
Are we in group 8 or group 9? Maybe I went to
You all are group 8.
Oh, okay. I went to the wrong one.
Okay, and I can see my stuff on slide 5, but I can't see anybody else's.
What is the title of your slideshow?
There's a good question.
So all the way at the very top.
8.
Very top. It says 20 Math Workshop.
So right now you're in group 20 slideshow. So if you close that down and click this link in the chat box, you'll have group 8s.
Okey-doke. So close this.
Now I see you all coming together.
Okay. Okay, so it should say 8 Workshop.
Yes.
All right. Okay, try this again.
Okay, well, that was our 5-minute timer.
Yeah.
So now what I think we would do is we'd go to each other's slides and try to figure out, what we made.
All right, folks, you have one other person in here. Carrie's in here. And Carrie, I just put the link to the activity in the chat box. And you're part of this group, group 8.
Thank you.
So do we want to go and fill this in, pick a different person's slide and fill it in, or do we want to move on?
If I can find it.
Hello there, group 1. I just added another person to your group, and I'm going to put the link for the slides in the chat box.
Awesome.
There you are. If you can just let everyone know what slide you're on.
Working on number 9 at the moment. Yeah, definitely.
Hi there, group 2. I can see you're on the Make It Many Ways slide. And as you all are doing this, take a peek at all 4 slides and the very purposeful numbers that are selected for each one and why that might be important for student understanding.
Oh, I see what you did. You flipped the 1s and the 10s digits. So you're trying to, something that I like, it's showing them how it can look very different using the same digits.
Right. There's still going to be the same number of like pieces there. Um, but 72 versus 27 is going to be different in terms of the 10 rods and the singles. Hi there, group 3.
Hi, Teresa. How are
So
you?
I'm good. I can see you all are mastering the little Control D shortcut. I find that when
Oh,
my
yeah,
students
that.
figure that out, they are so excited and ready to share with anyone who will listen. And those 4 slides have different numbers on them, but the different numbers are very purposeful. So as a group, you might discuss, why those numbers are there and what other numbers might be useful for students to explore.
Several and several games on there. She has all her resources on there that she shares.
Oh, okay. But she'll have extra Find It game boards.
Oh yes, there's several things on there. Yeah.
Okay.
Hey there,
'Cause I
group
like
4.
Hello.
Hi. You all have done a beautiful job of your first activity. Way to go.
We have a question. Valerie has a question for you.
Go for it.
So we were talking about the find my rule, guess my rule. So I guess I was asking, what would kids say? Because I'm thinking, do we want kids to say, okay, so I started off with 2 10s, 2 1s, and then I'm adding one more 10 that I started with, or I'm doubling my 10s plus 1 plus 2 more? Like, is that the rule, or how would they explain the rule?
So it's really interesting that you ask that. When I pop in the different rooms, much like I did here, I'm usually in for a couple of seconds before I even announce myself, and I'm listening for the questions that they're asking each other. And for me, either one of those tells me something more that I didn't already know about my students. I do keep a lot of these things very open. But I was working with a group of second graders who were changing these numbers. So like, for example, I'm on slide 25, and they were changing the color of the numbers. This is what they did. They changed this one to yellow and this one to blue. And they were doing that so that they could talk. And then this one, they were like, it's like Ziploc, yellow and blue make green. And so that's what they were doing as they were trying to describe the rule of the addition problem. And you know what? When they do that, I know what they're thinking. And, I kind of check my box off of, which kids have shown this thinking through their questions.
Okay. Okay.
All right. Thank you.
All right. So, and how much time do we have left?
You guys will want to speed on down to that second one and that third one. We're going to come back at 5:45. So just spend a few minutes on each activity, get a taste of it, and then move on.
Okay, so we should be moving down the slide deck.
Strategy.
Man,
I'm gonna move. I like to think about it. Use strategy.
that was bad. Okay. I'm gonna do.
Okay. Oh, I see why the middle now.
5 plus 6 again.
Aha. Okay. It's an advantage to go first.
See, that was payback. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's see. 7.
All right, I'm gonna move the dog to 1.
What if I do?
And 6 plus 1, that's gonna give me 7.
Okay.
Uh-huh.
You went well. I'm gonna do.
You did both.
5 plus
Oh.
7, 12.
Okay.
But now you're gonna win.
Oh yeah, because I can do 7, and then I move the dog to 0.
Yeah.
Okay. Yay! How are we doing on time?
1 minute 39 seconds.
Hi there,
Oh,
group.
awesome.
You all are doing an amazing job of this. Well done. I did want to point out why sometimes I have partner games with breakout rooms of 4 kids. Sometimes I find that some students aren't yet self-starters in partner games, and just having a bit more of a noisy room instead of just you and your partner can sometimes motivate kiddos to ask questions like, wait, how did you start that? And there's often a lot of voice in it, and people can get more casual. So as you're discussing, just kind of keep that in the back of your mind as one idea.
Yeah, thank you.
Oh yeah, that's great.
Well, and that,
So, and maybe I would want to block you. And then I think,
hardly have anything to block.
oh yeah. Well, and also like, oh, I guess, because one of the things I was thinking strategy-wise, like kids will start to think about if they want to do 4 in a row going, like where your 9 is.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Oh, mine just says, how did you collaborate, interact, and have voice? So where am I now? I'm the wrong one or what? Oof, I must be on the wrong one. Yeah. 15. Here we go.
Hi, Sarah. Oh,
Dog to,
ooh, we have some strategery going on here. Purple totally blocked
figured
orange.
it out. This has been fun.
Yeah, this is a great game.
I like this.
I'm going to move the cat to 5 and put this here.
And now with our teacher hat on, I often like to think about the activities that I give my students. And while this was all about place value and addition, this is kind of the prerequisite to it, that we can add single digit numbers, and they probably still need some fluency with it. And so right in the middle of this math workshop, I love to have just kind of a cycle back to an old skill and practice that fluency.
So Teresa, we had some difficulty with the directions. We, as the 2 of us who were moving the chips, assumed one of us could only move the cat and the other could only move the dog. We didn't realize that either one of us could move either animal.
And that'll really change the game. Sometimes I'll have my students, if they either had a misconception about the rules, but they seem to be working it out together, sometimes I'm just going to let them go ahead and do that, and then we'll come together as a whole class and we'll say, if you want to play this game differently, check out the directions that this group came up with, and they had some new strategy and new challenges. And then I can recycle this for a whole nother class period, and the kids are excited because there's new rules to it.
Good idea.
Yeah, I liked this one a lot. It reminded me of that, one of those games you can make. It's like the not cats and dogs. It is cats and dogs or something like that. Never mind. I know what I'm talking about, but I can't describe it.
This was a classroom
so
game that I had, and little paper clips were at the bottom of the page, and they would move one of the paper clips and then put a chip on it.
Something like that.
Yeah, I used to do that with my grade 3s and my grade 5s for practicing multiplication or for doing addition. And it's just a good 5-minute time filler.
And one thing I love doing with 4th graders especially is I'll let them play this game just for fun so they can start to get some strategy, and then I'll change the rules to multiplication and say, well, you need to give me a new grid because the numbers on the grid don't really work with multiplication, so what should be here? And then they spend like a whole class period trying to figure out all the products of everything below and what should be up there. Then they create their game boards and they play it. And so more of the work is on the kids while they're the ones doing the thinking.
So what do they do with the fact that they've got multiple possibilities, for example, for 11 and for 10? Do kids tend to pick up on that?
They do. They start to wonder why, and then we could get into probability.
Ah. All right.
Okay. This was fun. We're going to move on to slide 18, check for understanding. Select 3 cards and place them in order. Write the rationale for how you know they are in order. You can use the hundreds chart for support.
So each of you all are going to get your own quadrant here. So grab any cards you want. And once cards are taken, like, sorry, those ones are taken, you got to find other ones.
Huh.
Hi there, group 3. I've added another person in this group. I noticed that somebody else had left. And if Tacoma, if it gets any smaller in here, just let me know and I'll make sure you guys can head into another room. You're also welcome to move yourself if you want more collaboration.
Okay.
What grades do everybody teach?
I teach second. I teach second.
I teach second. Thank you for sharing.
You're
very welcome.
I teach math intervention, so I'm like kindergarten to 8th grade. But I've taught middle school and high school mostly.
Hi, folks.
Okay.
So I see that you all are working on the pick any 3 cards and explain your reasoning. And I like to balance this slide with the idea of taking other people's ideas and applying them versus the other side of, well, I can read what someone else wrote. Am I cheating? So how do you see this slide kind of in the balance between those two kind of ideas?
Well, we were just talking about whether the intention was for us to copy paste the numbers or to just drag the numbers. And someone brought up the point that if we're not using the same numbers, then it's a deliberate choice where we're all doing the same task. I can look at other people's work and get ideas, but then I have to apply it to my own set of numbers.
Yeah, absolutely. I typically do the drag and drop for them. The idea being that if it's already taken, like, sorry, you got to pick something else. And so they get a little excited about that.
Getting their
I'm
number
taking
first.
So you gotta get your own.
And Laura, you're exactly right. When we take somebody else's ideas and we kind of read that, we're just at the understand level, but as soon as we apply it to our own set of numbers, we're moving up in that Bloom's taxonomy. In other words, we're doing richer and more rigorous mathematics.
Classroom, maybe? Now, are you guys classroom teachers?
No. No, I'm a math coach and gifted resource teacher.
Oh.
And I'm an EMERT and I teach 6th grade advanced math.
Oh, okay. I teach 3rd grade.
So this will be great for your kiddos.
Oh, I know. That's what I'm saying. I'm loving all these activities. So,
Hi there, group.
Hi.
How's it going? So did you all do this by each person having kind of their own column that they were responsible for?
Not this last activity. We each did our own slide.
Yeah. Okay, yeah, so doing your own slide also works. On slide 26, try it this way also. Each of you get your own column. And see what discussions emerge when you each have your own column to do.
All right.
Okay.
Awesome. I'm going to do add 20, which I've started on.
And if you want a little trick with the Google Slides, holding down Control D for duplicate will make these go real fast. My kiddos love figuring that out real quick.
Okay. I saw that, but like you've cloned everything, so it seems really easy just to drag it.
Sure. Yep.
Also, that seems pretty fast, but.
Okay.
So what are the discussions that students might have when they're responsible for their column all on the same slide?
Hopefully they notice patterns. They make connections.
What was the question?
What kind of conversations would the students have um, while being responsible for just one column within this slide?
Well, there's a lot of different ways you could represent it. Like some kids might be able to hold 62 in their head and then just show the adding on piece, but then other kids might ask them to explain how they know that and how they figured out the sum.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I was going to say, probably since I did the add 10, I would just say that I know that I would just change the tens place from 6 to 7, so I know I need 7 of the tens base blocks. Maybe.
And then what stays the same and what's different about each column?
The ones column stays the same and the tens column changes.
So in our boxes, we all have different number of 10 rods, but we all have 2 unifix cubes or two one units.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I love doing this activity where each student is responsible for a column because it gets really obvious if a student has made an error in this, and it becomes almost obvious to the student because theirs looks out of place in comparison to the one before it and the one after it. And it turns this, instead of kind of competitive, it turns it into collaborative because we want our slide to look good. So each of us are responsible for our column, and we're going to kind of work together to fix any errors that are in there.
I was thinking too, some students might create 62 with the tens and ones, but then they might add on 10 using 10 individual cubes.
So, that's true.
It would be laborious to do that with 40. Hopefully a student would not do that, but you might have kids that are still counting out 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
You'll get some tech-savvy kiddos too. I love these ones that will wait until one person has done some of it, and then they'll go in and they'll just select a whole bunch and copy and paste them over, and they'll be like, yeah, but I just copied over 62, so I'm adding my 20. And it's really neat to see their brains do that.
That is awesome. That would have been a lot easier.
They pick up on it quickly. After you do like 2 of these activities, you have 1 or 2 kiddos who learn it. They teach it because of necessity to the other kiddos. And then before you know it, your whole class is doing that. And you're like, come on, guys, like I wanted you to move. That's why I cloned them. And they're like, oh, no, we got this. And number sense wise, that's really showing something that they know how many to copy over and not do too many more, too many less, and how to edit it.
Yeah. So how many kids do you usually put in a breakout room? 4 kids?
I love 4 for a lot of reasons. Even though there's partner games, I like 4. And part of that is because some partner games, if there's only 2 kids in the room, they might not be self-starters and they might have a little bit of learned helplessness going on. And so they're going to wait for a teacher to come in and get started. And when there's 4 kiddos doing 2 partner games, there's usually a lot more talking going on, and so that eases the nervousness and increases confidence in just kind of trying something out or asking the other partner pair.
Okay.
Yeah, we had a little problem. We only had 3, so.
Oh yes, those odd number groups, they're like us math teachers' nemesis. All right, we're going to come together in just a couple minutes.
Great.
Welcome back, everyone, to the main room. We are all back together now. If you'd like to do a shout out to your group members, feel free to use the chat box for that. I know you all were really working together, using your teacher hat, talking about what students would do, what they would say. And that's kind of one of the nice things about coming to one of these math workshops with other educators. I'd like to finish up our math workshop and then go to it from the teacher perspective. So we're going to go back to our original slideshow. And in case you've closed it, I'm just going to send you the link again. The link's in the chat box. And we're going to head way down to slide 37. I tried to keep all the templates there for you in case you wanted to play around with it. And I'm going to make a duplicate slide since we have a nice large group. Slide 37 and 38. I'm going to move my screen off. And I'd like you to respond on either slide 37 or 38. Which is larger, 47 or 74? And I typically ask my students to defend their answer, but since you all are educators, I'd like to know which activity supported you most in being able to answer this. So tell us which is larger and then which activity supported you the most in being able to answer this. And again, if you had closed down the main slide deck, the link is in the chat box. We're on slide 37 and 38. One thing I hope that you notice is that not everyone selected the same activity. And that's because we all came from different perspectives, different prior knowledge. And even though us as teachers might really love one activity and we really think it's going to be the super one that gets students to get it, it's through a variety of activities that students start to piece together the connections to really get a holistic understanding of place value, two-digit addition, and more. So let's kind of talk from a teacher perspective, all the background stuff that's happening and what you might want to know as a teacher. I'm going to share my slides with you all. And I'm going to move to slide 39, where you saw all 8 activities. I don't typically give all 8 to all of my students. I'll go in there and I might, pick 2 of them. And I will change the color of these to yellow. I like the must-dos to be like a mustard color. And if they finish the yellow ones, then they may go to the other ones. So they've got the must-do and can-dos. And this kind of homepage slide would look different for every group of students. Some students I found aren't as successful when they have lots of slides to look at. They get all excited about looking through all of them that they never truly complete one. So those groups, maybe I just make it so that there's 1 or 2 activities on it to just help them with their focus. With other groups, I found that when I add just 1 or 2, they're not as focused at doing it because they're like, oh, okay, this is the only 2 we get. But when they see that there's more options available, they get excited because they really want to get to the can-dos. So again, much like with teaching, there is no one right way of doing it. You know your students best, but these are some different ways that I've experienced. Let me show you what I had on my command center as the teacher. At the top of my screen that I'm sharing, you will see that I have all 8 groups open in different tabs. Because of my naming mechanism where I started the title of each group with the number, it's real easy for me to even have up to 20 groups open at a time. I can click on a group and scroll until I see where the little avatars are, and that's how I know where my students are. If I see all my students on the same slide and I see that their microphones are on, most of the time I don't even jump into that breakout room. I can see their productivity and I can go and check on others. So classroom management wise, I'm looking for where students are. If I've got a student up on slide 18 and another one up on slide 10, I might go into their breakout rooms and support them. If I see major misconceptions or students not moving at the speed that I thought that they would be moving at is another reason why I would go in and check on them. And also, you know, as teachers, we have various reasons why we would check on our kiddos, but this is my behind the scenes. This is how I knew exactly what slide you were on and how I could join your conversation seamlessly. And then I wanted to also briefly talk about these 8 activities, how each activity was purposefully a little bit different, and what you might do in choosing your own activities. You'll notice the first one was called Independent to Partner, and on slide 40 is an example. The independent part was moving the base 10 blocks. And then it moved into a partner because the partner would fill in the blanks. And so it was collaborative because both students were vested in having a correct slide, but they each had to make their own contribution. On slide 41, our second activity was a small group activity. All the different slides had different purposes with them, and you were trying to build it 2 different ways. So 27 is going to look different from 72. The partner game activities, a couple of groups were asking, well, this is kind of hard to do in a group of 4. So when we're moving the little cat and dog, you know, there was a lot of talking. And again, you know your students best. Sometimes I find that students are not necessarily self-starters when they're in pairs. They've gotten this kind of learned helplessness where they'll just sit quiet and not even begin the activity. And that can be really frustrating as a teacher who's still learning all the online tools of what do you do when kids won't start. I found that by putting them in groups of 4, the conversations are more casual. And if some students don't know, they can kind of ask the other group, or maybe they hear the other group. And then there's becomes a lot more laughter and joy in a group of 4 than I've heard in a group of 2. So that's just one of the reasons why I do it. Slide 43 was a check for understanding. You all experienced what it's like to grab your 3 cards, and once you had them, no one else could take them. And that meant that your answer was slightly different than somebody else's. But you could have read somebody else's answer. That would have just been at the understanding level of Bloom's. But as soon as you had to take their answer and apply it to your own cards, now we're up in the application area. So it's becoming more rigorous because the cards are different. And sometimes I'll also have my students sign their names onto this, and this is just a little quick check that I use. Finally, slide 44. When each student is responsible for their own column in an activity where each column is related to one another, it doesn't become competitive anymore. Instead, it becomes collaborative. So if I'm in column 2, no one else is allowed to touch column 2. I'm responsible for it. But if I see that my number is 46 here, I notice that everything else ends in a 3 and it increases in the tens place. So I'm more likely to see the error and fix it myself, or see it and have my peers support me with voice. So that's why I like to do the 4 columns and everyone's responsible for a column. The last thing you may have noticed is I also do a guided group station. And in this case, I picked the Math Learning Center's Base 10 blocks. It's an amazing website. And this is where I would share my screen with a small group, and we would just do a small group instruction, much like I would have done in the face-to-face class. It gives us a space to do it. So folks, in a nutshell, that's my math workshop. That's how I conduct it in my class. And I'm going to hang out afterwards for anyone who has any questions. You can type them in the last slide. I'm going to add a new one below because it's getting full. But I hope you got some ideas, some templates, and some ways of modifying them to work with your kiddos. And I wish you a great start to your school year. I'll take any questions you all have on slide 46. All right, I'm going to start off here. Have you ever had issues with students being able to be online with background and with Blackboard and Google Slides? For example, students with siblings online at the same time with bandwidth issues. If so, what did you do to help them solve it and still participate? I think the easiest thing to do in this situation is to not require students to stream video. Streaming video is a huge bandwidth user. If you don't need the video, none of these activities, I don't think anyone needed to share their video to do them. You can save your students a lot of resources there. The other one is choosing images to use. If you have high resolution images, really big files, that can lag the computer. If you use PNGs, those ones are usually nice and small. And I typically will give up some of the crisp cleanness of my images for usability for my students. So that's another thing that you can do. Logistics question. Do you create several slide decks with all the games so that the groups work on different slide decks? I do. But especially if you've been to any of my other sessions, you know this slide 9, there's one of these. In all the math workshops I do, there's one of them. And I just change out the individual student slides. What that means is at the end of this session, I'm going to copy slide 10 all the way down through slide 36. And I'm just going to paste it in every single one of these. It will take me about 2 to 3 minutes. And that's how I reset it. One of the slides shared guided discovery. How do you time those mini lessons? I would say I time them in the same way I do in the face-to-face class, which honestly is not very well. That's not one of my strongest points. There's many teachers out there who do a phenomenal job about giving, let's say, each group 8 minutes, or working with an intense group for 10 minutes and doing kind of check-ins with some other groups. I highly recommend, if you're curious about timing mini lessons, that you do check out the Math Workshop book because there is some really expert advice there. And this is honestly something that I'm still working on as an educator. How do you manage the breakout groups if you're doing a mini lesson? Well, as you noticed, many of you all were engaged without me being there. And I start breakout rooms on day 1 with a very short period of time, just kind of giving students access to breakout rooms. And as soon as they've learned to do this without me being there, then I can just stay in a group for 10 minutes and I don't even need to bounce around. You might be curious about how you set that up. So let me get my breakout room materials and I'll add this in the slide below. I have a lot of people ask me about breakout rooms and if we need to do them and why to do them. And I give these graphics. On slide 47 is why we do them. And I think possibly the most important reason for doing breakout rooms is so that we can build safe and knowledgeable digital citizens. We don't want kiddos going off into the real world, not knowing how to be safe online, respectful online. And much the same reason why we teach driver's ed in high school, even though, let's be honest, driver's ed can be dangerous, right? But we give them a nice structured environment. We give them practice time that is structured, and we are ready to anticipate mistakes and what we're going to do with that. So we need to do the same thing online. Otherwise, kids are going to go out there, they're going to be downloading malware, they're going to be giving their information out to strangers, and we haven't prepared them. But that doesn't mean you just jump into it. On slide 49, I have kind of my way of looking at breakout rooms, starting off very small, a 2 by 2 by 2 model. And I only move to longer time and more students when they have mastered my prerequisites. These are the same things kindergarten teachers do at the beginning of every school year. They practice walking kids down the hall. If someone's licking the wall, they go back and they practice it again. And they don't move on to the next step until everyone's made it down without licking the wall or high-fiving, their friend on the other end. So these are the same things you're doing in the face-to-face classroom, but this is just a structure to give you online. Somebody asked, how do you organize all the slide decks in your Google Drive? So let's see, if I type in Math Workshop, where do I have my folder? Groups? There we go. I don't know why that didn't show up. Anyways, I have a Math Workshop folder. I've got some different things I'm working on in here, but the important thing is my Math Workshop group slides. You'll see there's just the 20 of them. They're numbered like this. Those are just shells I copy and paste new stuff into. If you were going to do this with, let's say you have different classes, I might call it like, let me do a rename. Instead of 21, I might call it 21.A for my A period, or if you have first period, or you have red days or blue days, whatever it is, I would just put a little dot next to it and the extension, and I still know which rooms are which rooms.
Teresa, this is Christine. That was my question. And I'm wondering, so you have your groups and then you put your slides in, and then after the kids work on the slides, do you basically like delete what was in there then and just put new? So that's kind of always a work in progress. So, because nothing really ever goes away in Google. Sometimes I feel very overwhelmed with all of the things I have in there.
Another thing is, I think it's because nothing goes away, it's very easy for us to be digital hoarders. And I use that phrase a lot within myself too. If I know that this was a sandbox activity, and I'm okay with deleting it, then I'll just not worry about it and we'll delete it. If it is something that I really want to keep for a purpose, then I try to keep just the slides that are purposeful. So if I have an IEP meeting coming up and I need evidence, I might keep that one slide of that student's work. But if I don't intend to go back to it, I give myself the relaxing feeling of that was a sandbox activity. We go in, we build a sandcastle, and then, the next day we have fresh sand again, and it's all about the experience. If you do want to copy it, you can just right-click it, make a copy, wherever that is. Oh, maybe I have to do the
I don't know if you can
individual
make a
files.
copy of like a whole folder, right?
Yeah, but you can highlight all of them and do a copy of the files, and you could put the date in front, as you'll notice that I've done with today's. I find date in front being a really good naming mechanism. It's searchable, and that way if you ever do need to go back and see something, you've got it. But again, I'd ask yourself if you have that need, if that's a real need.
Right, thank you very much.
Somebody asked about breakout rooms with first grade. Well, I've done breakout rooms with pre-K, kindergarten, first, second, third, fifth, and seventh graders. It's worked well in every single one, but much like walking down the hall, there's certain prerequisites you got to teach kindergartners that are different from eighth graders. So again, you're not going to rush into it. Start slow. And then once they've mastered certain things, you can increase the time they're in breakout rooms. Do you open all the slide decks before the lesson? Well, you can see what I have up on my slide here. I don't need this one anymore. I've got today's date. This is my main one, and each of the math breakout room sessions there. And that's what I have open. Thinking about the beginning of the year and how to model these for students before releasing and sending them into groups, would you suggest modeling just one game activity and having a student play along with you? And how do you keep students engaged during the modeling? That's a really good question. So what we would do is model it in the main, like in this case, Blackboard Collaborate or Zoom or Google Meets. And let's say I was modeling this 4 in a row. I would tell everybody else, just like The Price is Right, when everyone's yelling out, pick 7, pick 7. I tell the kids to type that in the chat box. I don't mind that it's distracting because it's engaging. And when they're trying to figure out like where the 7 key is, I'm also teaching keyboarding skills. So I keep the chat box really going. And I say, if you're not sure about how to type it, you can always add an emoji. And there's nothing kindergartners like more than adding 16 emojis. But it keeps them at the computer. They're seeing what's going on. And the distraction is actually, lessons in digital citizenship. So that's how I kind of keep them engaged. How do we go about asking for permission to use these? If you're an educator, just use them. If you are working for commercial purposes, just give me a chat, send me an email, and we can chat. I've got lots of them available on my website. So if you're looking for these and other templates, you can go to my website, go to templates. There's a bunch here. You just download them and drag them, drop them in. And if you're someone who likes to edit things, so all the editable versions. Let's see, if I go down, here's some from today. You can go in and actually get the editable version. You can change the color. You can change anything you want to make it work for you.
And kind of just follow up on that. That was my question. Do we have permission to share these with our colleagues at school?
Yeah, everything on here is copyrighted through Creative Commons, and the copyright that I've used is as long as it's for non-commercial purposes, you can use and modify away. If you are using them for commercial purposes, then you got to email me and we'll chat.
All right. Well, thank you so much.
Yeah,
These
sure.
are amazing.
I think that's all of them. If you have any other questions, feel free to turn on your mic and ask out loud. But otherwise, have a great, great, great start to the beginning of your school year.
Teresa, could you go back over to the logistics question about several slide decks with all the games?
Yeah, sure. And I can actually reset it right now so you could see what I would do.
That would be great. Thank you.
So this slide 9 is kind of my landing page. And at the beginning of a lesson, I would actually open up every single one of these. So I have 1 through 6 open. I'm going to also open up 7. And I'm going to open up 8. And if I'm resetting them, let's see, I try to keep the blank ones below for educators to use. Sometimes they get a little bit edited, so let me move those back. So I'm just kind of resetting all of my slides right now. Alrighty, I'm going to click on all the ones that I want in those breakout rooms. So slides 10 through 36 are highlighted. I'm going to copy that. Then I'm going to come into each of these math workshop ones. Select it all, delete it all out, paste all the blank ones again. So I've reset it for the next time I do this PD, and it's all blank. And it does take about 2 minutes to do every single one of them. I haven't found a faster way of doing it, although I figure there's some programmer out there who knows of a faster way. But that's how I get nice blank slides all set up again.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. Thanks, Pat.
Thank you. So appreciate this. Thank you.
Thanks, everyone. All right, and so this is the last one. I'm going to go ahead and delete, paste. Every single one of these that people worked on today has now been readjusted to the blank slides, and they're ready to go for next time.